best. I'll be there with you for the next. I'll be. Yeah, you're recording the meeting, right? Fine. Thank you. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Manamendraji, we are recording the meeting, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Very good. So kindly send me a copy later on. Okay. Thank you.
Sir.
Okay. Sure. Well, I should have been in Shillong today. I should have reached Shillong yesterday, but last Friday, pre-travel RT-PCR test revealed that I am positive, though I didn't have any symptoms. And coincidentally, the next day onwards, the symptoms started coming. So I'm compelled to be in Calcutta this week, and all going well, next Monday I should be in Shillong. Right. Times are tough. Yeah, times are tough. So I shall begin with an introduction of myself beyond what Alkaji had given. She gave you some information. Let's start on a humorous mood in the morning. Times are tough. We have to keep each other alive, awake, and enlivened through good humor first, right? And good humor is very important. With most of the people who talk about ethics, make it a very grim affair, boring, moronish kind of a thing. People are not interested in ethics. I'm being very frank with you. I've been teaching this for the last 30 years since I am Calcutta, and the people are not interested. So how to make them interested? That's, I'll come to that later. But let's start with a sense of humor. It's our introduction. Bill Clinton has come to India. This is a story. Bill Clinton has come to India, and he wants a closed-door meeting with our then Prime Minister, Mr. Atal Bihari Vajpayee ji. He was shown some soundproof chambers in the Prime Minister's office in the Secretariat, but he's not happy. He said that I have another option. We'll travel in a balloon. Only two of us will be there in the balloon. And we'll discuss. No one to disturb. And don't worry, it's a remote control balloon, American technology make. And within the balloon, inside the balloon, there is a sensor where you can see exactly where you are flying. So don't worry. So with a lot of trepidation and worry also, Vajpayee ji walked in. The balloon started flying. The two world leaders inside the balloon, they start conversation. After the initial pleasantries, the conversation starts becoming a little serious, animated, because there are serious issues like Gulf War, oil crisis that time. Then Cold War, Indo-Pakistan border crisis, so many things. So more than 1 hour passed in that conversation, and suddenly they find that the sensor inside the balloon is not working. Balloon is fine, flying safe, but they can't make out where they're flying. Vajpayee said, sorry, I am not going to fly like this. We can't have a conversation in this panel. I want to know exactly where we are flying. And Mr. Clinton, he's a very smooth and suave gentleman. Perfect. Smooth character, and great communicator. He said, you want to find out, Prime Minister, sir, that where we are flying? I'll find out for you. Don't worry. And he looks down from the balloon, and a man is walking down the road with a black suit, an umbrella, and a briefcase. He shouts, Clinton from the top shouts, hello, and the man looks up. Yes, sir. Clinton said, can you tell us where are we? Can you tell us where are we? And the man immediately answers, sir, you're in a balloon. Clinton said, sorry, Prime Minister, we have to ask someone else. We can't trust him. Why? What is the problem? Vajpayee asked. Clinton said, no, he won't work for us because he's a management professor. How do you make out? Management professor. How can you make out? Clinton said 3 criteria, sir. Number 1, quick solutions. Number 2, technically correct. Number 3, completely irrelevant. So that is my other introduction. Okay. This was shared to us in an international seminar in Calcutta a long time back. About 500 stalwarts from all over the world were there, and a professor from Australia had shared this. An expatriate Indian. Anyway, so good morning, friends. I'll take you through a journey for the next 1 hour or so. And if I'm allowed, I can carry on a little bit more if required, if your time permits. But let's start taking. Any problem? So it's a journey. Why journey? I call it a journey because a journey is something which is adventurous. A journey is something which is interesting. And journey is something which is also relevant because it is tuned up to the journey of life. As I was telling you, in most cases, pedagogy in ethics or business ethics across universities, across institutes of higher learning like IITs, IIMs, wherever you go, students are hardly interested because they find it boring. They don't find it interesting. There are hajar things around them which are interesting. They have their shopping malls, they have their discotheques, they have their coffee shops, so many other things that they're interesting. Why should they be interested in ethics? They are more into career, into money, visits abroad, so on. Have to make it interesting. Number 2, is it relevant to my journey of life? So these are the 2 things we have to keep in mind when we are making this venture into this topic called business, sustainability, and ethics. Right? Sustainability has become a buzzword. Everyone is talking about it today. So I'll take the sustainability route via ethics. Without ethics, there is no sustainability. Cannot be. So friends, sharing of screen, I'll share some of the snippets from a presentation. I won't go by a slide to slide presentation. No, I don't believe in that also. Some slides from there I'll show you, pertinent ones. So let me share it. Just I'll begin. Yes. Just a minute. Yes. Can you see the slide? Friends, can you see the slide?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. It's
Yes,
visible,
sir.
sir.
Okay. But
Sir.
Alka ji, from here, if I want to go to the next slide, then what is the operation?
So below their option is coming in right side.
The option is right.
That arrow mark is there, so for changing the slide.
Arrow mark is. I'm trying to find out where is the arrow mark.
Right side bottom.
Right side.
Right side bottom. Right side bottom. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. So friends, here we begin. So this is a journey of ethics and values. I've used the word values apart from the ethics also. I'll tell you why quickly. Because when we created a center at IIM Calcutta, we called it the Center for Human Values. For us, values is the base. Without values, without human values base, you cannot have ethics. Ethics becomes a meaningless, extremely mechanical exercise which people don't enjoy. Unless there is a deep foundation in values, unless there's a strong sense of purpose, ethics remains only a mechanical exercise. Like something like a code of ethics is there in the organizations. People know it, okay, fine. But it is not becoming part of the lifeblood and the culture of the organization, which is what is more important. So I'll take this journey from west to east. Why west? Why do I begin with the west? Because management education in, let me come back, yeah. Management education in India began in 1961 at the IIM level. First IIM to be created was IIM Calcutta, 1961. A few months later came IIM Ahmedabad. Calcutta was created in collaboration with Sloan School of Business, MIT. IIM Ahmedabad was created in collaboration with Harvard Business School. So we have inherited the legacy of the Western management principles and practices in IIM since very inception of management education in India. And we have learned a lot from them, no doubt about it. But we can import technology, we can import finance, we can import derivatives, we can import formulae. But is it possible to import and plant and graft culture? Especially when it comes to the human side of the organization, especially when it comes to such subtle and sublime issues like values and ethics in organizations. Just think of that. It's not possible. So, with the American model, sometime later in the 1970s, we had a parallel model coming up called the Japanese model of management. A fantastic book came up, The Art of Japanese Management by Pascal and Ethos. A fantastic book, which was challenging the American model, the individualism and competition of American management paradigm was challenged by the Japanese thrust on collectivism, the Japanese thrust on cooperation. The entire total quality management TQM movement stemmed from there. Quality circles stemmed from there. I won't go into that. Simultaneously, at the same time, Dr. S.K. Chakraborty, the pioneer of human values and Indian ethos movement in management in India, started working on an Indian ethos in management. His inspiration was the Bhagavad Gita and the Upanishads and the classical wisdom literature of India and the works of four great Indians like Tagore, Gandhi, Vivekananda, and Aurobindo. And the Center for Human Values, which is still there physically existing in IIM Calcutta, you can take a look in the website, came up where I spent 16 years of my academic life. So our premise is you have to have the values foundation, the strength of the purpose first in place, and then the ethics becomes a reality. It becomes a part of the culture. It seeps into the lifeblood of the organization. It becomes part of your DNA, right? Okay. So that's why we begin the journey from the West. And I repeat, we admit at the very outset that we have learned a lot from them. To know either or situation, please. We now go back to, this is the, look at this gentleman, this photograph, the old man in Greece. Take a good look. What was he doing? He's carrying a lantern. So one fine morning, what happened was actually in the streets of Athens in Greece, one fine morning, this man was seen carrying a lantern in broad daylight, moving in the marketplace. And whoever he was meeting, he was dangling the lantern in front of his face, her face, and looking at that person. And he was a wise old man of Athens, Greece, the epicenter of Western culture and civilization. Philosophy, mathematics, call it, astronomy, everything emerges from there in the West. Poetry, drama, literature. Greece, Athens is the place of Olympics also. So this man was moving in the marketplace with a lantern. He was such a respected person, people won't dare go and ask, sir, what are you doing today? Anything wrong in your, So finally a young boy goes and asks, Sidor, what is it that you are looking for that you can't see in broad daylight with naked eyes and you need a lantern for that? And that old man dangles the lantern in front of the face of the young boy, puts it down, smiles and says, my son, among crowds of people, I'm trying to find a human being. Mark these words. Among crowds of people, I'm trying to find a human being. I would request the participants to keep the noise out. Kindly keep the noise out. Hello, Mr. Bare Chakravarti. Mr. Bare Chakravarti.
Sorry.
Sir, you are muted.
How come I didn't do that? It automatically got it. Anyway, right now it's okay. Okay now? Is it okay now?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Right. So I would request you, as far as possible, be on the screen. Be on the screen. Because I feel like Manavindraji is there on the screen, Alkaji was there in the screen. If you're there on the screen, I can be rest assured that I'm speaking to some human beings. Otherwise, I'm looking at the blank screen, with names there. It doesn't make much sense. It doesn't give me the, if I may use a modern word, kick to go ahead in the class. So, okay. So please
Okay,
be in the screen. Let's
Okay,
put the
sir.
videos on. Okay, fine. So why was he doing that? Now think about the context. Context is a marketplace. In a marketplace, what do? We buy and sell. When we buy and sell, what is the mind doing? It is calculating. Calculating what? How much do I gain? How much do I lose? Kitna paya, kitna khoya. So the mind is the direction of movement of the mind is inside out, going out. Human energy has got two directions of flow. Inside out, andar se bahar, and outside in, from outside within. Okay. The best way to understand it is to look at the two photographs of Swami Vivekananda, which are very popular. One photograph you all know that he's standing like this with turban on at the Chicago address, right? Eyes bursting out. He's inspiring the audience. There his energy is what? Inside out. The same Swami Vivekananda you'll find in another photograph, sitting quietly in a lotus posture, eyes closed. You go to any of the outfits of Ramakrishna Mission, any of the outfits, anywhere in the country or abroad, you'll find a temple there in that outfit. And in that temple, you'll find that photograph of Swamiji along with his Gurudev and his Guru Mother. That photograph is sitting in a lotus position, eyes closed. Same person. There, what is he doing? The direction of energy flow is outside in. Okay. So we have both these complementary competencies. But in a in a 24/7 lifestyle, most of the time our energy flow is inside out. We are dealing with people, talking to people, reading newspapers, looking at the TV, whatnot, laptop, etc. I'm speaking to you right now. My energy is inside out. But what did the man say? If you remember, my son, among crowds of people, I am trying to find a human being. Apparently a contradiction, because all the people in the marketplace were human beings, weren't they? Yes, they were. Then what is the big deal looking for human beings among human beings? This is the point. Because it's a marketplace, my energy is flowing inside out. But what makes me a human being, the humanness, the qualities, are not in the marketplace or outside, it's there within me. To explore that, to awaken that, to revive that, and to manifest it, my energy has to be drawn within, outside, go within. Then only I can explore, otherwise not. There are all these big words, not self-renewal, self-exploration, that we use for, in our strategic retreat. They will only remain at the surface unless we learn the art and science of going within. Go within, live within, grow within, and then look from within. 4 steps. Go within, live within, be comfortable with yourself, with no one around. So much of power and potential is there within you. Go within, live within, grow within. Harness your energy. And then you look from within. And then look at the world with a different perspective. So unless we cultivate this art of going within, whatever you call it, reflection, contemplation, it is not possible. Simply not possible. It cannot be only achieved by brainstorming over coffee cups. Sorry. Right? So, this is the next point. Now we go back again to the So there's a search for the light within. The light is not outside. And why was the old man using the lantern? The old man was using the lantern because sunlight is not enough. Sunlight is not enough to reveal the outside world, the inside world. Sunlight only reveals the outside world, the marketplace. Sunlight cannot go inside. So you need a different kind of a light, different kind of a searchlight, different kind of a search process to explore that domain. Where lies your human potential? Where lies your human power? Latent, subtle, dormant, waiting to be awakened. Right? Without that, we cannot have this journey. Okay, friends? Now we go to the next slide. Now the next question is, why should we be interested in values? As I told you, people are interested in career, money, foreign visits, fast promotions. What we have found that if you can connect values to something that they can relate to, then only they will be interested. And that is why we introduced this concept called effectiveness. Effectiveness is efficiency, of course, but beyond that. Efficiency is a quantitative element. Like output by input, many engineers should be here around. Efficiency is output by input, right? Of a machine, of a design, of a process, 70%, 80%, whatever. Effectiveness covers that, but it goes beyond that also. Because there are domains of human life which cannot be captured in numbers. For example, friends, how many of you are sitting there? I think about 89, 86, 85, or 86, yes. Can anyone deny the effect or impact of mother's love for children in our growing up process. What made me today? My mother's love, sacrifice to make me what I am. Can anyone here deny that? Next question. Can that impact be quantified? Next question. Should it be quantified? Think of that. So there are domains in the organizational reality also which cannot be captured in numbers, but they're equally important, if not more important at times. So this is what we cover in the holistic effectiveness. Your colleague is not functioning well for the last 2 months. He's otherwise a smart guy, well educated, good academic background, good professional competence. Now, if I'm the boss and I try to find out the answer to his problem in the daily worksheets, in the record charts, then I'm not going to find it. This is a problem, one of the major myths in management. It's a myth in management that one cannot manage what one cannot measure. Sorry. Yes, measurement is important, but there is something beyond management, beyond measurement, which is equally important, sometimes more. For that young man who's not performing well for the last 2 months, maybe the problem is somewhere else in the psychological domain. And it may not have anything to do with the workplace. It may be somewhere outside. Right? So some things cannot be captured in numbers. They have to be perceived. They have to be sensed. The sensing is a very important aspect of valued development. Sensing, right? Now we go to this concept of effectiveness is an all-round effective. That's why we call it holistic effectiveness. Holistic comes from the Greek word holon. Holon means whole or complete. Quickly. So there are 2 pillars of this effectiveness. Skills, you all know this. Skills is about doing and values is about becoming. Skills is an inside-out approach and values is an outside-in approach. When we are learning skills and applying it in our life, in our work, whether we are writing a computer program or making a balance sheet or performing a surgical operation, we need skills. Important, very important. We do things with skills. That's why doing. And when we do it, the performance is visible from outside. Visible, tangible, and measurable also. If you are my boss, you see my performance, you can guide me and tell me how to improve, where I went wrong, and you can evaluate me also. But values is a domain of becoming within me. It is not possible for the others to see from outside. Invisible, intangible, immeasurable. Right? If anyone can see that, sense that, perceive that, is myself. I, the first person singular number, is the cornerstone, is a central point of values journey. Some people say, society is bad, people around are not good, organizations, the people around me are so corrupt, so why should I be ethical? Sir, ladies and gentlemen, we can make those allegations, fine, but only what we are doing is we are missing out our time in life. We cannot change the society to the way we like. We can only do is to change ourselves. Don't forget Gandhi. Be the change that you want to see around you. Okay. So this becoming is happening on within me. If we have to awaken the values and ethics, it has to be awakened within the individual. Both are important. Skills is the quantitative side of human development. Values is the qualitative side of human development. Together, they make holistic effectiveness. Right? Now we go to the next one quickly. One of the things which I always say, I won't spend much time on this. It is not advisable to define values. But if I give you a definition, there are 93 people sitting here right now. And each one will say, this is my definition of values. We can't go anywhere. Shared understanding is more important. See, when you run, Professor Singh is there to run an institution, to run an organization. These days we talk about VMV. VMV is what? Values. Sorry, vision, mission, values. Right? VMV. Vision is where you want to go. Mission is what you stand for, what is your purpose, and values is what are the ways, in what way you want to proceed. How do you want to reach that goal? For that, you have to base on shared understanding. There are certain things in which we all agree that we need cooperation. Only competition won't help. We need harmony. We need trust. So these are the starting points where we agree. There are 1,000 things we don't agree. Fine. But pick up 5 of them where we agree. And then we go ahead. Then you start your journey. That's why I said, beyond definition of values, where each one may have our own definition, go for a shared understanding, for a working arrangement. We go to. So always remember this, without values foundation, the ethics superstructure crumbles down like a house of cards. So we have to give a human values foundation to the individual and the organization first, and then only ethics can become a reality. Very important. Organizational change or transformation by values, there are 2 stages. One is sensitization, which we do through like a session like this, like in a training program, induction program, orientation program, refresher workshop, we do sensitization. But once sensitization is about maximum 10 to 15% of the entire values journey. Then comes sustenance. When the program is over, sensitization done, I go back to my organization and I find people around me are not following values. Then what do I do? That is where the power to sustain comes so important, becomes so important. And that is 80% of the values journey. In spite of the aberrations around, can I sustain? This is the challenge. And though I'm saying, surely enough, not everyone will be able to do it. But surely enough, not all people become inspiring leaders. Not every leader becomes a Jamshedji Tata, Ajay Tata, a Narayan Murthy, or a Nazim Premji. Not everyone becomes. You decide what you have to do. At an academic level, not everyone becomes Dr. Abdul Kalam. I have spent 7 days of my life with this man, and I will share that with you, at least briefly. Without him, values or ethics discussion is not complete. He had told me categorically that in the academic world today, we are infested with academics, but there are hardly inspiring teachers. Just mark his words. Dr. Kalam came to teach in IIM Shillong. First time he came on my invitation in a conference to chair that conference opening session, inaugural session. Then he started teaching our students. And then 2015, 27th of July, he came for the 3rd time, started teaching and fell down and never rose up in our auditorium. What a man, what a man. Oh my God. I can spend hours on him. I spend a lot of time with him. So he told me there are enough academics. They do research, publicize, but where are the inspiring teachers? You go back home after your class, before you go to bed at night, you think of that man who had inspired you. Can you think of any of the academics? Hardly any. I'm sorry to say this, but it's a truth. So we need more teachers who will inspire you to sustain, inspire in spite of the aberrations around. The transformation process, this is very important, friends. Each one of us has got two faculties. I'm sorry, but my cough is still there. Please bear with me. There are two faculties in each one of us, reason and emotion. I call it F1 and F2. F1 is reason, intellect, logic. Logic, reason, intellect. Number 2 is emotions, feelings, impulses, F2. Both have a role in our values development process for our individual transformation. How? I'll spend a few minutes on this. Very important. You know, about 22 years back, a global business scam happened, which rocked the business world. Enron, WorldCom, and Arthur Andersen. In the late 90s of the last century, star students from Harvards and Whartons and Stanfords would queue up to join Enron. But a few years after that, it collapsed. The collapse was not a technical collapse. The collapse was not a managerial administrative collapse. The collapse was an ethical collapse. And the people who were instrumental in doing it were not low on intellect. They were of the very high order of intellect. And that is why they could mastermind all this. After the collapse of Enron, New York Times comes up with a half-page full article by one of the leading journalists of that time, Hugh Gutman. The title of the article was Greed, Greed rocks corporate America. So what is this greed? Where does it come from? I said F1, logic, reason, intellect. F2, emotion, feeling, impulses. Where does greed come from? Do I think greedy or do I feel greedy? As a bong, when a rasagulla is hanging in front of me, do I think greedy or do I feel greedy? Tell me. Similarly, jealousy. I feel greedy, I feel jealous when my colleague is shooting up and I cannot go ahead. Suspicion, arrogance, aggressiveness, hatred, all these come from the world of F2 or emotions. And they lead to the collapse of values. Intellect has a role to play. I'll just speak about it in a couple of minutes. I'm not saying that intellect is not important. So, F2 often is responsible for our ethical collapse. I gave you the examples: greed, jealousy, manipulation, hatred, arrogance, deceit, conceit, aggressiveness, suspicion, backbiting. Now I have a question to ask you, my friends, please. And I will take some names. Oh. Just give me a minute, please. My battery is running out. I have to fix it here. Just a minute. One minute. Yes. Yeah, fine. So, in our education system, from the nursery school days, class 1, primary, secondary, higher secondary, graduation, post-graduation, doctorate, where is the focus of development of students? F1 or F2? Please tell me. Mr. Clement?
I think it should be F1 instead of
No, I'm
F2.
not saying should be or not. I'm saying
Okay.
what is the reality?
So sometimes I think that we behave
I
in
say
an emotional
dominantly, where
manner,
do we
but
focus?
uh,
When we are developing our students from
uh,
school days onwards,
uh,
in your graduation, in your post-graduation, where is the focus of faculty development? Trust. Yes, Jayanti ji?
Sir, it's mainly on enlightenment of reason than emotion.
Right. No, not enlightenment is a different word. It's on reason. Enlightenment is a different. I'll explain that later. It's on reason. Yes. But this is the problem. This is the problem. I'm not saying that reason is unimportant. Not at all. It has a very important role to play, but it cannot substitute the role of emotions. It cannot. Very important. Otherwise, reason is used by emotions. If emotions are not strongly developed, reason will be used by lower, baser emotions. F2 gets neglected. The Quran says, for example, greed robs a learned man of his wisdom. Greed robs a learned man of his wisdom. A learned man is fine on F1, but he cannot graduate from learning to wisdom. Why? From knowledge to wisdom. Why? Because his F2 is not properly developed. The Bible says, blessed are those that are pure in heart. Bible doesn't say, blessed are those that are brilliant in intellect. Please think of that. Throughout the entire Bhagavad Gita, you will find the Lord talking about purification of emotions, enrichment of emotions, chitta shuddhi. In classical literature, you find it. But in management literature, you hardly find people talking about emotions. Only recently, when we were students in IIMs, we were told, don't be emotional, be rational, which is impossible. Only 1996, Harvard established through research that yes, EQ is important, emotional quotient. EI is important, the famous works of Daniel Goleman. I don't have the time to discuss all that. But only after that, management world came to address these issues. So, emotions are equally important, if not more, especially when it comes to values and ethics. What does reason do? Reason tells you what to do. It shows you the way. Yahan pe jao. It evaluates the consequences, gives you the direction. But whether you'll go or not, it's decided by the emotion. The young boy knows that his exam is two months ahead. He has to study. His father, his brother has advised him, study. Now it's time, best time, so that you get good results and good admission in a good college and a good job. But when he's studying, the window curtains go up and the girlfriend is calling, hello, please, can we meet? He runs and meets the girl. I'm not joking. I'm not playing it light. It is the power of the emotions. The word emotion is emotion. Mostly it is motion. The momentum for action comes from the world of emotion. Right? Just always remember this, friends. Momentum for action. The direction comes from reason. Momentum comes from there. Right. One last example. Mahabharata, no, I don't have the time today to discuss Mahabharata, but without Mahabharata, ethics cannot be taught. I'm very clear about it. It gives you so many domains and layers of ethics for each character. There's no character who's either black or white. Everyone is gray. Right? So there is this meeting between Duryodhana, the villain, and Lord Krishna before the war. Krishna goes finally to plead with him, just, hey, come on, please give them 5 villages and just lay off. Why are you inviting the war? Millions will be killed. And Duryodhana doesn't agree. So finally, the Krishna said that you are an intelligent guy. You're not a dud. You're not an idiot. You know that if you don't give them the war, is the only alternative, only option left, and then such a disaster will happen. Human genocide. Don't you know what is right? Don't you know what is wrong? Then Duryodhana answers, sir, I know what is right, but I am not inspired to follow it. I also know what is wrong, but I cannot resist myself from indulging in it. What a fantastic statement. Just mark the statement. I know what is right. Knowing is okay. F1 is okay. But I'm not inspired to follow it. I won't go there. F2 problem. I know what is wrong. Again, F1 is okay. But I cannot resist myself from indulging it. I cannot come out of it. Janami dharmam na cha me pravritti. I know what is right. I cannot get into it. I don't have the pravritti or the momentum to go there. Janami adharmam. I know what is wrong. Na cha me nivritti. I cannot come out of it. So this guy that time had a full confidence that he was playing the role of, and clarity, role of villain in Mahabharata. Kamalji, you have a question, please.
Sir, what is the difference between ethics and morality? Is there any difference or they are just synonyms?
I'm not going into morality in this session.
Okay.
Morality is a much more deeper philosophical issue. Okay. I'm just talking about plain, simple thing. Creating a culture of ethics in business on the basis of human values for sustainable organizations. This is my premise for this session. Morality is a completely different thing altogether. It's a much more wider, broader philosophical perspective. Okay, so this is what I would respond because it's a very detailed subject. Let us be very clear. What is the focus of the session is ethics, sustainability, values. Right. Now, I would like now quickly present to you something which is, see, just don't take my words for it. And before that, Jayanti, you wants to say something, please. Boliye.
Sir, ethics is interpersonal fairness and morality is being with all the niyama and yama.
See, what you are saying, I will need time to discuss that.
Yes, sir.
What you are saying, niyama, I'm not sure how many of the 99 people sitting here will understand that. So you have to create a context for that to explain to them all that. We don't have the time today for that, madam. You're right. I agree with you. I accept you, but we don't have the time today for that. That is thank you so much for your input. But morality is not not our focus today.
Sir.
Let's look at the great minds of the East and the West on this issue. Albert Einstein, the highest intellect in science in the 20th century. The intellect has a sharp eye for methods and tools, but it is blind to ends and values. You see this. Gandhi. And I know that ultimately man is guided not by the intellect, but by the heart. So I'm not just saying this out of the hat. I have the great minds to inspire me to say this. Again, Swamiji, the intellect is blind and cannot move of itself. It is an inactive secondary help. The real help is feeling. The real help is feeling. Bertrand Russell, even more important than knowledge is the life of emotions. So two stalwarts from the East and two stalwarts from the West. That is what. So what is our agenda now? Our agenda, our priority is to introduce the enriching, positive, emotive element in the organizational learning and culture building process. Intellect will develop, surely. We are not going to neglect it at all, please. But simultaneously, enrich the positive, emotive element. How do you do that? You have your own set of positives. Each one. You just expand on it. I'll explain. Suppose you have your strong point is, let's say, compassion. Today you expand your compassion to 5 people. Tomorrow, you see that you can expand it to 10 more people. This is how you expand. Ethics and values are those which help you to mentally, in your consciousness, expand and reach out to the others, to include the others, to accommodate the others, to embrace the others, mentally, psychologically, at the level of consciousness. Integrate the others, include the others. And whatever separates you from the others is unethical. Because the nature of the human being is to grow. Grow, grow, grow. Manav Dharma, the very nature of human being is to grow. Grow not just physically, we can grow only up to a limit physically, but mentally, at the level of consciousness, grow beyond any imagination. Right? Now, I'll skip some of the slides because this is a slide for a 2-session program. So I'll skip this. This is very important, friends. The first point, 6 P's of sustainable business. The first one is purpose. See, people often say, we know what is good, what is bad. But when it comes to the reality, I don't act like that. Why? Because there is no sense of compelling purpose, no overarching purpose, no foundational principles, P number 2. I'm only concerned about the individual, not about the planet, not about the people. I'm only focusing on the processes. And I'm not inspired to follow it. I don't have that passion. This passion is a passion which is like inspiration. This passion is not the passion of people flooding the Park Street on the 24th and the 25th, doing drunken revelry and bringing corona. You understand? So 6 P's are purpose, principles, planet, concern for the nature. People. I spoke about people in the very beginning. The man with the lantern. Processes. Now comes the details of the processes. After the first 4 P's have been taken care of, the 4th, 5th, 5th is processes. And how to implement all that together is I need the passion, and this passion is inspiration. Very important for culture building, for sustainable business. Now comes some important things for us. See, this is journey to enlightenment. Individually speaking, from information to knowledge to wisdom. There's a great poem by T.S. Eliot. It says, where is life we have lost in living? Where is wisdom we have lost in knowledge? Where is knowledge we have lost in information? I repeat, where is wisdom we have lost in knowledge? Last two lines I'm repeating. Where is wisdom we have lost in knowledge? Where is knowledge we have lost in information? T.S. Eliot, the great poet. So our journey is from information to knowledge to wisdom. And from the organizational point of view, I'll explain that. I'll show that later also. Is from compliance. Compliance is a rule book, like a code of ethics. You know what are the do's and what are the don'ts. That is information. But that's not enough. So next you have to know why this is good, why this is right, and why this is not right, and why it's not good. So you have to go through a knowledge dissemination program, knowledge sharing program, learning program, this cognition, which is through training programs, development programs in the organization. This is primarily the work of the HR people. And then finally, at the highest level, when wisdom dawns, wisdom, you cannot, capture wisdom. You cannot go and acquire wisdom. Wisdom dawns. When you are ready, wisdom dawns. It becomes part of your consciousness. You don't need to be convinced. It has become part of your lifeblood, your culture, your DNA. These are three steps again: information to knowledge to wisdom. Then we come to the same thing I have written again: compliance ethics, information, enlightened governance. From the individual to the organization, compliance ethics, information, his code of ethics, rule book, cognitive ethics, knowledge, training programs, consciousness ethics, wisdom, where it becomes part of the culture, DNA of the organization. Someone like J.R.D. Tata or Narayan Murthy, right? Well, we learn from the books, the book of knowledge, which is there with us in hardbound copies or in ebooks or whatever, or in websites or in Google. Another great teacher is nature. The most comprehensive experiment of learning values from nature has been given to us by our own great poet Rabindranath Tagore through his experiment in Shantiniketan in the last century. In the inauguration of Vishwabharati, on the first day, he addressed the students by saying that you have two sets of teachers. One, the human teachers, we are there with you. And the other, he showed the trees around them. And they are your teachers also. Learning from nature. And third is the book of life. Book of life is what? Experiential learning. How do we do it? We do it. You see this. Knowledge gives you a framework of understanding. Nature gives you going within for soul searching. When we are with nature, we are, more comfortable in spending time with ourselves, in contact with nature, exploring the power and the potential within us. All reflection, all contemplation happens much more conveniently, much more powerfully in the ambience of nature. And process of learning, experiential learning, art of seeing and listening. The world comes to us through the five sense organs of reception or perception, karmendriya. Eyes, ears, nose, touch, and taste. Tongue. The art of seeing, we don't see things as it is, we see it the way I want to see. Right? The two Buddhist monks were going down the road and there's a pothole filled with water. On the other side of the pothole, a beautiful lady, well dressed, disturbed because she can't cross that pothole. dirty water. Seeing her problem, the younger of the two monks jumps to the other side, puts her on the shoulder, jumps back, puts her down on the floor again, and starts going on his own way. The senior monk, absolutely baffled, his jaws fell. But what could he do? The whole thing happened so fast. He also joined the young one, and they went on their way. The lady, before she could turn back and say something, they have disappeared. The same night in the monastery where they were living, everyone was fast asleep. Only the senior monk was awake, pacing up and down the corridor, angry, fuming. Finally, he woke up that young boy. He says, "Hello." "Yes, sir. Yes, sir." "You're sleeping, sir. What is the problem? You are asking me what is the problem? You know what you have done today? You have brought disrepute to the entire monkhood of the world by carrying a lady in the public place. You have come here for spiritual salvation, not to establish physical contact with a lady. Can you see the problem?" The young boy is now alert. He said, "Yes, sir. I can see the problem. The problem is that for the last 10 hours, you are carrying that lady. I had dropped in there, carried her for 1 minute or so. For 10 hours, you are carrying it here. This is what we call baggage, right? I don't see the reality as it is, but I see it the way I want to see. I'm trained to see. I'm indoctrinated to see. And I can't see it. I cannot learn. Similarly, listening. When I'm listening to someone, I should not judge. Because the moment I start judging, I don't listen. Right? Very important. So learning from the sources now. We are running out of time. I will skip this part. Very important. The childlike teacher. We have three personalities in us: parent, adult, and child. Parent, adult, and child. PAC. Our education system takes good care of nurturing the parent and the adult, but at the cost of the child. The child is neglected and ignored. What do I mean by the child? The child here stands for sense of wonder, curiosity, passion, joy, freedom, creativity, which is marred in our education system, making it part of the rules, systems, and rigor. That's fine, but one has to be taught how to go beyond that also. That is why Rabindranath Tagore ran away from 6 schools. He was sent in his childhood. 6 schools. He ran away from each one of them. He was educated at home. And at the age of 40, he went to Shantiniketan, the abode of peace in the heart of nature, created his university to bring back nature and life into the education system. The child demonstrates his love in action. This love is not, possessive love that we usually come across. No. It is an abundant, expanding love. I'll give you an example. Swami Vivekananda was asked at the end of his life that you were a son of an aristocratic family of North Calcutta. You had the full blast of Western education. You were a student of philosophy. How come you dedicated your entire life to a person who came from the village, who had no formal education, and who was a worshipper of the black goddess Mother Kali? His dearest disciple, Sister Nivedita, the Irish lady who dedicated his life to India's cause, asked him this question before his death. Swamiji gave a one-line answer. I felt his wonderful love, full stop. And that one line, I felt his one wonderful love, is the fountain of inspiration, is the Guru mantra of creating sustainable organization. Created in 1898 headquartered in India, spreading across the world. And after 120 years of Swamiji's passing away, it's sprawling, growing, proliferating with more than 200 centers world over. Can you beat it? India giving an example of sustainability, a sustainable organization. Basis, I felt his wonderful love. Full stop. Think of that. Quickly, Manvendra ji, can I have 5 more minutes?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. No problem. Actually, the session should be of 2 hours, but because of the shortage of time, it is 1 hour 15 minutes. Your session should be at least of 2 hours or even more.
No, if you can give me a few more minutes, it will be, I can wrap up in a better way, actually.
Sure, sir. Sure,
And you
sir.
let me know when I should, you just let me know 2 minutes before when I should stop, and I will stop. Don't worry. Okay.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir. You can continue.
One of the
till
major
11.
problems that we have, friends, is it's 11:15 now.
Yes, sir. You can continue till 11:30, sir. That will not be a problem.
Wonderful. I'll do that. I'll come continue till 11:30. At 11:30, I'll leave. Friends, I hope my friends are all enjoying, right?
So,
Yes, sir.
Yes. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
We are enjoying, sir.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay. See, this is another problem we have. As I told you in the very beginning, that don't forget, one of the things that we miss out in the ethical journey, in the values journey, is humor. Humor. So I again revisit that theme of humor. Problems of communication. One of the major problems in organization is communicating values. I may have all the good intentions, I may have all the requisite knowledge, but if I don't know the mind of the people to whom I am communicating, I become a failure in values communication. I'll give you 2 examples from life. 2 examples. Life, not from books. In IIM Calcutta campus, a professor's son was told the story of Shepherd Boy and the Wolf. You remember that story? It's a famous story. A shepherd boy and the wolf. The shepherd boy is to graze the sheep, boring job, and he would try to have fun, shout wolf, wolf every day. And the villagers come running, no wolf, they go back. So the same fun he's repeating every day, so he's finally branded as a liar. One day the wolf comes and he shouts at the top of his voice. No one comes to help because he's a liar. So the wolf does havoc with the flock and kills the shepherd boy. Moral of the story, what we learned from Aesop famous was always speak the truth, never tell a lie. Now, this young lad was studying in class 3, a millennial child. He was asked, what is the moral of the story? He was told the story. He was told, what is the moral of the story? Said, sir, there was a problem in the very beginning, the child is saying. There was a problem in the very beginning. You should not have sent that shepherd boy to graze the sheep. You should not have sent that shepherd boy to graze the sheep. Why? What is your problem? No, sir, you cannot do it because United Nations has banned child labor. So this is the millennial mind. We learned, always speak the truth, never tell a lie 40 years back. The new world, as we say, new normal, whatever, new mind says United Nations has banned child labor. Interpret the same story in a different way. And it is not wrong, it's his own way. So you have to know the mind of the people. So otherwise your communication will fail. So this story was shared in another seminar in Pune. Seminar on communication to illustrate why or how communication fails. This United Nations story, shepherd boy. And there, a teacher from Punjab comes and says, Acha, Manvinder ji, is Hindi okay with everyone?
Yes.
Because
Yes,
this
yes,
is
sir.
the meat is there in Hindi. Still, I'll tell you in English also. Don't worry.
Hindi is the mother.
So a teacher from Punjab comes and says, sir, मैं भी ये कहानी ट्राई किया था पंजाब के गांव में. The same story, Shepherd Boy and the Wolf, where he is teaching children. मैं भी ये कहानी ट्राई किया था पंजाब के गांव में. मेरा एक्सपीरियंस कुछ दूसरा है. तो आपका क्या एक्सपीरियंस है? What is your experience? And the teacher from Punjab says, sir, मैं यही कहानी सुनाया. फिर बच्चों को पूछा क्या सीखा आपने? एक बच्चा उठ के जवाब दिया. One child gets up and answers. Sir, आप तो हमको बहुत प्रॉब्लम में डाल दिया. Sir, you have landed with a lot of problems. Why? क्यों? क्या हुआ तुम्हारा? बोलो ना क्या सीखा तुमने? What did you learn? The boy says, sir, देखो गौर से देखो. See very carefully. जितने बार वो लड़का झूठ बोला था, सब उसको सहारा देने आया था, है कि नहीं? बोलो. So many times he spoke, he lied. Everyone came to him. एक बार मजबूरी से सच बोला था. लाइफ एंड डेथ सिचुएशन था ना, कोई सहारा देने नहीं आया. Once under a critical life and death situation, he had to shout out the truth. No one came to him. Now you tell me, you are my teacher. आप हमको बोलो मैं जिंदगी में क्या करूं, सच बोलूं या झूठ बोलूं? You tell me, what should I do in my life? So I said, as we are going towards the concluding part, let's not forget humor, and humor with a cause. Because the two stories I told you are all real life stories. So the point is written in the slide here. Problem of communication is because of lack of awareness of context. I do not know the mind of the guy to communicating. I have 1,000 things to communicate. I have so much funda with me. I have so much of knowledge with me. I have so much of good intention with me. But I don't know the mind of the people. What is their like and dislike? What are their hopes and aspirations? What are their fears and anxieties? I don't know. How can I communicate? So I am not sensitive to their insensitivity to the context. I'm only interested in blabbering, good, value, ethics, morals. Come with that. You have to get the young people with you. Be it Nelson Mandela or Martin Luther King in the West. Be it Swami Vivekananda or Mahatma Gandhi here. Be it Rabindranath Tagore or Subhash Chandra Bose. Their target for their transformational movements was young people. You have to have the young people with you in the organization. Otherwise, they will be left out. You fill the auditorium with so many stalwarts, the young people will either sit at the back or they will disappear at the first opportunity. Arey Baba, ab jaake dekho na. I'm not taking names in institutes, spiritual institutes, religious places, good places, wonderful people, wonderful speakers. But look at the age group of the listeners, 50, 60, 70. Where are the 20s? These post-retirement people, they will be creating a movement, or the young people will create a movement? Ask yourself. So you have to make them engaged, you have to make them interested. I repeat, you have to make it interesting and relevant. Unfortunately, hardly, a handful of people across the world I've met who can make it interesting and relevant. Not the knowledge, not the seriousness only, not the good intention only, but make it interesting and relevant. And for that, I mentioned the word journey in the beginning, journey. You have to undertake a journey. Unless you find it interesting, you cannot make it interesting to the others. Please. You have to find it interesting first. Then only you can make it interesting to the others. There's no other way out, sir. Next, we go to the next slide. So, our enlightened organization, the creative organization, the two principles are from Mahabharata. I got it from the Mahabharata. You know, Mahabharata was not written by Vyasdev. It was composed by Vyasdev, but not written by him. He went to Lord Ganesh and asked him, "Sir, I have Mahabharata here. I'll dictate. Will you write for me?" The Lord said, "Yes, I will do that. But I have a condition." What condition? You are not allowed to stop while you are dictating. There has to be a continuous engagement. The first point. Sage Vyasa was equally intelligent. He said, "Sir, I agree, but I have a counter condition for you." What is that? You are not allowed to write a single sloka without understanding the full and complete meaning of it. Conscious process. Understand. Not because someone has told you that is good, but you consciously, you assimilate it, get convinced, make it part of your consciousness. So a continuous engagement and a conscious engagement with your mind fully into it, then only you get a creative output of the order of Mahabharata, which is a timeless creation that India has given to the world. Next slide. So, technical, going back to the Bill Clinton story in the beginning, why management, professor? Quick solutions, technically correct, completely irrelevant. So, no quick solutions, no technical solutions all the time. So, there are no easy answers. You have to keep on searching. This is the last point I would like to mention, friends. This entire journey is a journey of asking series of questions. Begins with yourself. Never satisfied with the older answers, but keep on asking. Address and reinvent yourself. It is an evolutionary journey, not a static position. This journey of ethics and values. So this questioning we get from Rabindranath Tagore in one of the poems. He dictated 10 days before his death, lying down in his deathbed, and someone wrote it. He was, in a completely, last stage of his life when he dictated this poem, unable to sit or write. Just listen to this. Last words, 10 days before his death. The first day's sun asked at the new manifestation of being, "Who are you?" No answer came. Year after year went by, the last sun of the day, the last question utters on the western seashore in the silent evening, "Who are you?" He gets no answer. I repeat, the first day's sun asked at the new manifestation of being, "Who are you?" No answer came. Year after year went by, the last sun of the day, the last question utters on the western seashore in the silent evening, "Who are you?" He gets no answer. So this is life, friends. A series of questions. As we question, we evolve, we reinvent, and we move ahead. Charaivati is the mantra. It's not a static position. There is, I said in the beginning, no strict, clear definition, but an understanding. If you go to the Bhagavad Gita, you find in the first chapter, the Lord introduces a crisis. Arjuna comes to the battlefield, very confident, says, "I want to see who are there in the enemy lineup. Please place my chariot in front of the enemy camp." First chapter, the Lord does not speak. Silent leadership. Takes the chariot and he chooses a point, a defining moment in Mahabharata. He chooses the place to park the chariot. Wrong parking. So a wise man had told me. He put the chariot in front of Bhishma and Drona, to whom Arjun was the dearest. If the chariot was placed in front of Duryodhana or Dushasan, it wouldn't have been a crisis. But in Mahabharata story, out of the 105 brothers, 5 Pandavas and 100 Kauravas, to both Bhishma Pitamaha and the Guru Dronacharya, the dearest was Arjun. And hence the collapse came. Arjuna knew they are on the opposite side, but knowing is one thing and seeing in front of them is a different beam altogether. And the Lord knew that. And the Lord made Arjuna collapse to the extent that Arjuna fell down on the ground, stepped down on the ground, put the bow and the arrow and said, I'm not going to fight. Chapter 2, the Lord starts speaking again. Speaking first. First time the Lord speaks in chapter 2, and the first statement uttered by him is a question. From where did your crisis come? From where did your crisis come? Go to the root of the problem. And the root of the problem is not in the Kurukshetra outside. It is there within you, inside you. And you have, that is now, you have guarded it. You cannot see it because Bhishma and Drona are in front of you. You have to explore that, bring out that power and energy and come and fight and win. The first statement by the Lord, this is not a session on the Bhagavad Gita. I'm just giving one example. The first statement by the Lord is a question. And the last statement by the Lord, chapter 18, after the conversation is over, is again two questions. Have you listened to me with single pointed attention? The Lord asks. आपने सुना ठीक से मैंने क्या बोला कितना देर बोला हमने 700 slokas. Have you listened to me with single pointed attention? कच्चित एतत् श्रुतं पाठ त्वयि काग्नेन चेतसा कच्चित अज्ञान सम्मोह प्रणष्टस्य धनंजय. Has it removed your problem summarily which was there in the very beginning? My God, he was asking for feedback thousands of years ago. The point I'm trying to make is, in a spiritual literature, everywhere in the world you'll find, across all cultures and traditions, you'll find the Shishya, the audience ask questions, and the Guru, the master, sits and answers. Bhagavad Gita is a 180-degree turnaround, where the Lord, the master, first, where there is no crisis, creates a crisis, and finally gets the protagonist out of the crisis, Arjuna out of the crisis, by beginning his conversation with a question, ending his conversation with questions. Chapter 2, first statement by the Lord is a question. From where did your crisis come? In chapter 18, he ends his conversation with two questions. Have you listened to me properly? Has it cleared your problem? In no other spiritual literature you will find this. Guaranteed. Begins and ends with question. So the journey continues. So, and the Lord's only focus to Arjuna was to search for the self. Forget the war for the time being, but first find out yourself, the full blast of yourself, its full glory, awaken it, and then fight. So, friends, I'll conclude now. Again, questions. I began with the story of light in Greece, the old man with the lantern. Here is Lord Buddha. His last days, he's sitting in front of his disciple Ananda. Ananda is young and very vibrant. And Ananda is saying, my Lord, of all the prophets and sages that have come to the world, you are the greatest, because your messages are relevant to humanity by like no one else's before. I had been fortunate enough to sit at your feet and learn those messages. Now I seek your permission, your blessing, so that I can spread your message to the world. Very confident young man. Buddha is silent, almost 80-year-old that time. He said, after some time he starts speaking and asks 5 questions. 5 questions again. First, you said I am the greatest of all the sages and prophets of the world, Ananda. But Ananda, do you know all of them? Do you know all of them? First question. Silence. No answer. Second question. Whoever you know, have you read all their messages? All their messages? Have you read? Silence. Whichever messages of theirs you have read, have you understood the full meaning of those messages? Have you understood the full meaning of all those messages you have read? Silence. Fourth question. Have you understood the full meaning of all my messages you have learned for so many years? Again, silence. Final. Fifth. Then what is the basis of your confidence that tomorrow you will go and spread my message to the world? A young man who was vibrant, ebullient, sometime back, crushed, collapsed at the feet of the Lord, said that what crying, what do I do, my Lord? Then Buddha, gives his mudra and says exactly what is written here. Atmo Deepo Bhavo, be a light to yourselves. Atmo Deepo Bhavo, beginning and end of the values journey, beginning and end of ethics journey, beginning and end of sustainability journey. Atmo Deepo Bhavo, be a light to yourself. And when that light is kindled within, you don't need any promo campaigns. No publicity is required, like the radiance of the sun, like the fragrance of the flower. It will naturally spread to the world. Now, friends, you will ask me, sir, also you're taking examples like Buddha, Einstein, Vivekananda, Tagore, Gandhi, the Greek philosopher. Common people like us, what will we do? We are not such great stalwarts. For us, I will conclude with a poem by Tagore, a short one. The sun is setting in the western horizon. It looks at the world and asks, who is there now to show the light? I am leaving. It's darkness all around. It's silence. Then in the far corner, a little lamp lights up. A far corner, in the darkness, a little lamp lights up and says, sir, I will do the best that I can. I will do the best that I can. 90 people sitting here, friends. We are not Buddhas or Vivekanandas, maybe. We all have the potential. But for the time being, we can all be those little lamps. When the darkness comes, 90 little lamps will light up the world, create the culture, and take us ahead. Thank you very much, friends. Thank you for your time, your patience. If you have time.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much,
Any
sir. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
I
Very
think
good
this is,
session.
very honest, sir, it is a very amazing session.
Yeah, we could have, and I have
Actually,
much more to. I just gave you the broad framework. Then we have much more details to discuss on each of the points that we have. But since it's one session, we leave it at that. And you have other sessions also coming up, so I don't want
I think
to.
your 4 to 5 hours
thank
of
you.
session also would be better, sir.
It's my
Thanks a lot,
opportunity
sir.
also to be. Manavindraji, my personal thanks to you for inviting me and being with you. It's not just, there's an Indian concept of seva is very different, like it's very different from the service industry. In service industry, if I give the service and you receive the service, then you are the prime beneficiary because you are receiving the service. The Indian concept of seva is the 180-degree turnaround, which says that if I offer the seva and you are receiving the seva, right? Then I am the prime beneficiary because you have given me an opportunity to serve you. So if our teachers can take this up, when I go to a class, I serve them because I am indebted to them. I am the prime beneficiary. They have given me an opportunity to serve. The whole quality of education becomes completely different. It's very inspirational and powerful. Right.
Very true. Thanks a lot, sir. Thanks a lot for giving us the time.
God bless you. Thank you very much. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Get well soon, sir.
All